Okay. Are we ready to roll?
I think so.
All right. Well, I am not Charlie Pierce. I am Sarah Devlin, and I'm playing the role of Charlie Pierce today. I don't have any citywide updates. We had a really long council meeting, so I don't think we need to get any more updates, but I did want to discuss the solar credits. We have received a request from a constituent to give an update on the reporting on the kind of pre and post predictions for the solar array on 180. And it's kind of as I'm learning more and more about it, it's a really onion that needs to be unwind a little bit, unpeeled. So originally we reached out to the solar credit company and they did not respond. Then we reached out to the original consultant that helped set up the solar credits, and we have come up with an approach to engage with them again to see if they will respond, because they have all the reporting. And it would just be as simple as them sending it to us. If that does not work, then it will require us to go through our monthly Versant bills to record every credit. That would be very time consuming, so Charlie wanted me to discuss with the committee. The finance team is working really hard on the audit recommendations, on account reconciliation, and our budget process, believe it or not, is gonna start shortly here. So just kind of wanted to get some feedback on where this fits in the line of priorities. If they write back to us and send us the report, it'll be simple. If they do not respond and we have to go the route of compiling all this information with our team and the help of a consultant, that will be more time consuming.
Who's the consultant that we use?
George Wood.
George Wood.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think my perspective is we obviously have to, we have limited time and resources, but this is important, both because constituents have the right to know what, how this is working, and also I'd like to know, and I think we need to know. That said, we have a lot on our plate. I don't know if it fits in. I think it would fit in with kind of the concept of addressing things in the audit. Maybe even though this wasn't raised specifically in the audit, it relates back to just making sure we're accounting for everything properly. Yeah, Steve, do you have?
So, my feeling about that is, number one, you can't change whatever the results are. And the results are going to be the results. And I certainly think it would be interesting to know. It was touted, it was done before I got here as a counselor, and it was touted, and it was pretty fresh, that it was going to be a 26% savings. And I never believed that when I was told that. And I would doubt very much that it's a 26% savings. Charlie was here and said that he had reached out to a consultant, and I asked what the cost of that consultant was, and I think he told us at this meeting that it was $340 an hour.
Yep.
That's a lot of money for something we can't change. We'd like to know, and the citizens would like to know, but it's a lot of money for something we can't change. I think one of the interesting parts of this is that the citizen that has reached out and requested this has been doing so for over 1 year, and it has not been attended to. So at this point, I think it should have been attended to long before, or at least given a time frame. And this had fallen off Charlie's radar, using his words. And this citizen is getting a little irritated with that whole process of non-accountability on the subject. I think, given the situation, that we should draw a line in the sand and just tell the person that, hey, we're going to get this information to you, but it won't be until April 15th or June 30th, or just give them a date, okay? And make that date as comfortable as you can for the people doing the work. And I think that's more important than anything. I agree that if it would have been addressed a long time ago, the answers would have already been there. But I think that it's a long time, it fell off his radar, and the communications wasn't good between the city manager and the citizen. And I would think that just simply improving the communications and saying, hey, we have not forgotten you, we have a lot to do. Would it be acceptable if we could tell you we would have this by June 30th or by August 31st? Or give them a date that is comfortable for staff, comfortable for consultant, and let that expectation be there. And I'm not saying crowd it, I'm saying make it comfortable and give that date. Maybe it's September 30th. I don't know what that date is. You have to decide that. But giving a comfortable date, I think, is all that's being asked. That would be my guess. I think that would be helpful.
Agree 100%.
Great, that's how we'll proceed. I think originally, I wasn't here for the original request, but going back through the emails, I think originally we thought it would be kind of a quick, because Ashley reached out to the company and we thought it would be, we'd get a quick reporting. And once we get the reporting, whether it's we produce it ourselves or we do get it, then we'll have a system where we can track it from our Versit. So we won't have to rely on the reporting company. It's just the going back is hard to get that accurate information. But once we have the system established, it'll be much easier to continue that tracking. So those numbers will be readily available. So I will get with the team and we'll figure out what a comfortable date is. Hopefully it's, we'll set a date and hopefully we'll get the answers from the company, from the credit company, and we'll get it to them quickly.
The second thought I just had about that is I wonder if going back is necessary. I wonder if it wouldn't be an option to track it from this day for the next 6 months.
That's a good idea.
Provide that. Maybe that's an option too.
I think that's a really good idea, Steve.
Because that may be easier for everybody. It would avoid, if it's easy to track, maybe,
No, I think that's gonna be the easiest way.
okay.
No, it's
then-
very easy to track now that we know we
Yeah.
need to do it, yeah.
How
And
about,
that this company
yeah,
isn't
so
gonna.
how about this? How about just reaching out and saying, it's time consuming and expensive to do the back homework, but could we do the homework for the next 6 months, and then report
That's
on
no
it?
problem.
That's
Yeah,
a great idea.
That's no problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right, yeah.
Thank
good.
you. Perfect. That's all I have.
Shed some light on the situation, Steve.
Yeah,
So,
Finance has nothing. Nate went back home this morning. Leigh and Deb were at an MMA training last week, so we had no warrant last week, so they're busy doing the warrant this week and just plugging along.
and I'll ask the Steve O'Halloran question. Everyone's gonna make sure they're paid on time, and even with the disruption in the warrant.
Yes.
Great, perfect, thank you.
thank you.
I have nothing else either.
That's it from finance.
Public, any comments from the public today? Don't all rush up at once.
Morning, Jared, resident. I was just curious on Monday night with the band bond, why those two projects, or however you want to call them, were not separated and voted on as two different things and how they were grouped together. Because it seems like there was some discussion about one and not so much discussion about the other. And it seemed like we had to pull from one project to get the other project voted on and to move through. And I feel like by voting on one number in 36 months or however long before the fire truck, are we gonna have to go bond again to cover the gap that we pulled from the truck for the track?
It's a good point, we might have to, but as far as why we do it together, is that because of the?
We're just gonna band together, that's the
Yeah.
one, it's gonna go to band together, and that's the amount we're banding for, so that's why it's together, not separate discussions.
Because
It's
it's-
under one,
one.
it's one band, yeah.
And, you know, it's interesting you asked that question, because I thought of that when that was being discussed, and in my little brain that night, I wondered, and I didn't ask the question, but in history, from what I have seen, is there are many projects that pull out of quote-unquote bond anticipation note, which I'm looking at as a credit line, and then they're financed at, they could be financed at different levels. So I wondered that, but then I thought, well, in the history of a band, credit line, construction loan, whatever you want to call it, I think the history says that they have been grouped together. Maybe the conversation wasn't as much as we wanted, but I think history, I might be wrong, correct me if
No, I
I'm
think
wrong,
you're
but I
right.
think history says that they draw a band for maybe a half a dozen projects and then bond them accordingly at the end of the project, now, to pay back the band. Now, I'm speaking from a very brief understanding, so I may be telling you a complete wrong story here, but I thought of that when that happened, and the justification was, I don't think that's uncommon, to separate all these little bands. Maybe the clerk might have something about that.
Yeah, they get separated at the time when they get transitioned into a bond, because each of them might have different useful lives that we want to, you know, have that credit for. So that's, I think, and it's from my understanding also, just to, kind of get the project started. So we do it in anticipation for the project and to kind of get it started, and then they break off.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And then I was also wanting to do my monthly advocating for seeing where we are with removing the impact fee on the High Street corridor. I know that, you know, I've been talking to Charlie for like a year and a half about it, and he keeps expressing that he's working on it, and I didn't know if that's like working on it maybe in like the next 6 months or like a year or two, and just curious what like you guys' feel is on that.
My understanding is the consideration of the impact fees is part of our efforts to update the land use ordinance, because it's a pack like that. So I guess I would imagine the answer is, you know, where are we at do we have an anticipated timeline, and when city staff thinks that we might be moving, you know, advancing this to the planning board and then to the city council?
Sure, so, the ordinance rewrite process, is gonna come before the planning board and the council for an update, not a formal vote or action, but just like an update on the process and kind of where we're at with the recommendations and get some feedback. Are we, you know, a temperature test, are we heading in the right direction in December? And then I believe the formal, vote or action request will be in April, May-ish. So there'll be an update, I would think in December, on where, you know, some of the ordinances that are gonna be recommended for changing, and then the formal action will be in April or May.
I'm wondering if, along those lines, if, I know November's workshop has been canceled, and I'm guessing December would be a little bit premature in that process, but I'm wondering if January's workshop might be a good time to have that on the discussion table.
Absolutely.
Does that make any sense? If you thought about it is gonna be voted on possibly in April, you know, maybe January is too quick, maybe February it is, I don't know. January, February, I think it should be a subject of a workshop that we have.
And I, excuse me, I think we also have been thinking about having kind of a public workshop, just for other constituents like yourself that could come and comment and provide some feedback on the direction we're heading.
So have a specific workshop.
Just, yeah, not necessarily attached to a council, but specific, like, public workshop for this.
We could do that in January. I think that'd
We
be
could
good.
do
Well,
it as part of it.
Yeah, I would
Mhm.
think that taking one of our scheduled workshops and making that a subject would be in
Yep.
the spirit of what we set up as a workshop schedule.
Sure.
So I don't know that we need a special one. I think we would take one of them and make it that subject. Does that make any
That's great.
sense? That way, it's on a schedule that people are becoming used to, and make that the whole subject for that evening.
Could have a real impact.
Oh, my gosh.
It would have a big impact. And one last quick thing. The Moore Center lease, my feeling as far as kind of along the lines of the janitorial stuff is that the city should take on the burden of leasing the spaces, and by doing that, we would not be giving any profit sharing for those leased spaces to the Y. I feel like a calendar could be created and people could go online, click the date, the time, and pay with their debit card online to kind of streamline it and whatnot. In the private sector, that wouldn't be something that would be, how that would be taken care of. But as far as the rest of the Moore Center lease, I think it was done and done. And,
Well, no small part to you, Jared. Thank you
Yeah,
for your
thanks for your help.
help with that.
well, you guys have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Jared.
Roger Gilly, city resident. I guess my questions are, I was here Monday and all I see was spend. A sidewalk machine like I spoke about on Monday, we won't let one department have it. But now we created a Parks and Rec, and we're gonna let him, have a machine to plow sidewalks. My question is why didn't we take the two machines that the highway department have and let him have those two machines? The highway department's been taking care of our fields and different things like that. The school takes care of their fields. I would assume by now they have most of the equipment, needed to take care of, the fields and the lawns in the city of Ellsworth, why we're spending so much money to change that. And the impact fees, like Jared said, I mean, we could fill Ellsworth with businesses. We got plenty of land and plenty of buildings that need to be occupied if we took care of the impact fee. That would get the out-of-staters to stop in the summertime. That would get more people in Ellsworth to shop in Ellsworth, but instead we just drive business out of Ellsworth. And like you guys were just talking about the zoning. Rezoning in Ellsworth doesn't work because we're just up and changing zones now and, I know a couple businesses that have been here for 15 years and right now they've been rezoned. And technically they can't have their business where they are, but, the city picks and chooses who can do that and keep their business in those zones. So I really think that, the city really needs to stop and weigh in on some of the things that they're actually doing and think about this money spending. As you know, Steve, you've had trucks go all over the United States. A truck carrying freight, carrying equipment really gets beat on, over the road. Those trucks go a lot further than our fire trucks go. So I was doing a little research between yesterday and Monday, and I was told that our fire trucks, if they carry water or whatever, they're only filling them half full. These trucks are built to handle being full. So I was told that, a lot of the wear and tear on our trucks are from not being at, full potential. So therefore they ride rougher, stuff rattles apart easier. So maybe if they started filling them full of water, or, you know, instead of quarter or half, they fill them 3/4. You know, maybe that will save some of the wear and tear on the trucks, and they won't beat themselves apart and break springs and front ends and what have you that they've had to fix in the past. That's it.
Great, thank you. Anyone else from the public today? Okay.
I have one thing that come to memory, just from Roger speaking, that I've been thinking about a while, and he just kind of, oh, we have a public comment.
Keep on talking.
No, I'd rather you went first, honestly.
Oh, well. Really, thank you. Patrick Shea, resident. The discussion about the assessor's office. To reiterate what my cousin Stephen Shea said and what Rebecca Wilbur said, doing away with that is not, and outsourcing is going to cost more. The residents aren't going to get the services we need. When you have a department that's as important as doing assessing and tax collection and finance, we have to make sure that we properly staff them. It takes a long time to do an assessment just on one piece of property, so that when you're like doing a real estate transfer or doing probate issues with the estates, that has a very large impact on stuff. And we're all human. We all make mistakes. I've seen a lot of assistant assessors come here, work with Larry, and it seems like there's always a different face. I mean, he did have one long-time one that stayed, and she retired. We hire individuals for the city, and sometimes they're not fully certified and qualified, and that's in all departments. You have to be a certified assessor to work in the assessing department. So it's okay to hire an assistant that's got to go through the training. They could learn a valuable, education actually working with Larry. Or let's say Larry retires and we hire another assessor. But there are also mandates that the state puts on municipalities that you really need to do reassessment, because I think a lot of people don't realize how the tax thing goes. The city taxes the residents, the county taxes the city, the state taxes the county. It's a trickle down and trickle back up. So, and they did this once before in the past. And there's been other municipalities that have done that and did not. They've gone back to having their own assessor. A lot of long thought needs to be put into that before we do something that's going to have a great impact on the residents and taxpayers.
Thank you.
Any other public comments before Roger's comment just kind of triggered something in my mind, and I asked a gentleman from the heart of Ellsworth recently his input, and he didn't really like my idea, and I had asked him because I'm an early riser, and this past year I think Charlie's heart was in the right place with buying flower pots and hanging them from the street lights in downtown and in High Street corridor. The trouble with that was at 4 a.m. in the morning, I saw the city crew, or maybe it's now the rec crew, city pickups, let's put it that way, with a big pump, watering the flowers, starting at 4 in the morning, and commonly you would see them up to 6 in the morning. Watering flowers with a guy in the back of the pickup and a guy driving the pickup, and sometimes a second pickup. And I believe, in my view, I'll admit my sight isn't the best, but driving down High Street, I never saw blooming, beautiful flowers for all of the work that was being put into it. I saw flower pots, and I'm not discouraging anybody's hard work that went on this summer. But I wonder if next season, it wouldn't be wise to consider seasonal flags like Autumn Gold that advertises the word Ellsworth, that all of the people driving through here, we're telling them, welcome to Ellsworth. And instead of buying flowers and maintaining them once a month, you could change the flags, maybe with a little different message, but I think it's important that the word Ellsworth is on there. So that we're a gateway, and I think we need to announce where the people are. I mean, let's face it, they're lost when they're coming through town. You can see that, but I think, around the 4th of July, I have a camp in Otis, and they put American flags out during the 4th of July, and that on the utility poles, and I find that spirited. I think that's nice, and I wonder if Ellsworth might be better off buying flags that are gonna wear out. They're gonna wear out, but I wonder if that might be less maintenance, less work on the staff, and more announcement about Ellsworth. When I talked to the Heart of Ellsworth about that, and there was only one member, and his name escapes me, Peter.
Pumpkin eater. I don't know.
What is his, he's very active in the Heart of Ellsworth, very nice man. He came up to my place, and I loaned him some chairs for the parklet there, and I believe his first name is Peter, and I'm sorry, I should have known that. But his thought of that subject was maybe less flowers, but a bigger, robust bouquet planter, wine barrel at strategic spots in Ellsworth that makes a bigger statement. And that was his take on that. And maybe a combination of both, I don't know. But my word about flags is I think you can change them once a month or once every 6 weeks, and there's far less maintenance than paying 2 and 3 men to water flowers at 4 a.m. in the morning. Maybe that doesn't fly. Maybe I'm missing something here, but it's just a thought. And when and where that came from is when Rogers said something about spending money. I think that's an area that might be worthy of research.
I think that's a good idea, Steve. There's, the goal, right, is to make Ellsworth as welcoming as possible and to get people to stop and shop here, and, whether, maybe flowers and flags and other things as well. I think it's a good conversation to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to the point about making Ellsworth as welcoming as possible and to give information to people, as they're driving, which is really hard to do. We are also working with Maine DOT to put up some better signage on our arteries, because all we have now is a little green sign that says Ellsworth. There's no, welcome to Ellsworth. So we're working on that as well to make our city limits more welcoming and to let people know. And also, when you're leaving Ellsworth, wow, I just drove a really long way, and that was all in Ellsworth. So, and some wayfinding signage to point people to our downtown and to other areas of businesses. So, in combination, all of those things are important. So I'll pass that along. And now, we'll be planning for next year's beautification efforts. And so, that's really great feedback. I think Charlie would, discuss this and think, there are changes that we can do for next year. definitely.
Don't have to water flags.
No.
Yeah, and to your point, the signage is great, maybe, you know, at the borders, the bigger welcome to Ellsworth, and maybe as they're leaving Ellsworth, thank you for visiting Ellsworth on the backside of
Yeah,
that, or
yeah.
what have you. I think all of these ideas are worthy of a discussion. There was another hand up there.
If you come to the microphone.
Roger Gilly, city resident. So, as you brought up the heart of Ellsworth, I was out on the Surrey Road months ago, and, you know, as we know, with the fight about the courthouse and how 1,000 people can change what happens in Ellsworth to everybody else. There's a business there. The heart of Ellsworth went out there and said, look, you guys are in the downtown district. Can we put our little map and our, you know, flyer or whatever in your store? And the store owner said, absolutely not. And they said, well, why can't we? They said, well, he goes, well, where am I located? And they said, well, you're in the downtown district. And he goes, okay. He said, I've looked at your map. He said, show it to me. So he flips it over and it shows like stores and different areas and the map and the Black House and all this other stuff, but his store wasn't on the map. And he said, listen, if you want me to pass your stuff out, and if my business qualifies to be on this map because I'm in the downtown district, he said, as soon as I'm put on this map, I'll put your map in my store and let people take them and hand them out for you. But that's where I'm going with this, you know, the city of Ellsworth being business friendly, the city of Ellsworth, you know, stepping up and doing their part. You know, we just, the city's always been worried about Main Street, you know, giving money for the stores on Main Street. Well, those stores make money. Those stores can maintain their own buildings. There is a house right in town at the bottom of Bridge Hill. You know, for 20 years, the siding has been falling off the house. You can look at the studs in the walls. You can look at the insulation. If we're gonna give out money and grants and this and that, let's give that person a little bit of money and just help them fix their house up a little bit. You know, there's holes in the roof and the roof's caving in. Why are we giving money to stores that are for profit? Just to beautify that when we have a building that really needs beautification in that same area. That's, you know, that's where we go wrong, I believe. You know, as far as, you know, helping these people out. You know, we just tore down somebody's house that we didn't even foreclose on, due to supposedly mice in it that was boarded up. You know, here we have a house that there's no side on the basement because it's all wood down to the basement. It's missing the, you know, the upstairs is missing, it's falling apart. You know, we're really putting our efforts in the wrong spots, I believe.
Thank you. Okay, well, I think that concludes the meeting.
I think it's been a very productive meeting, it's been enjoyable.
Well, I hope that kicks off the rest of the day for us, too. Thank you all.
Thank you all.